Welcome to Past Mortem. In our previous episode, we broke down Hideo Kojima's departure from Konami, as well as the collateral damage of Silent Hills and PT, his collaboration with Oscar-nominated producer and filmmaker Guillermo del Toro. But one thing we had to skim over was the sad story of Guillermo del Toro's decade-long struggle to make a video game. Poor guy, he just wants to make a video game. Best known for Pan's Labyrinth, Pacific Rim, and the Hellboy movies, Del Toro has been outspoken throughout his career about his love for comics, toys, cartoons, and of course, video games. He put the voice of GLaDOS from Portal into Pacific Rim, and cites MGS's Psycho Mantis as his inspiration for the portrayal of Hellboy's Cronin. He has often cited Shadow of the Colossus and PC game Gadget as hugely inspirational, and listen, you may have your own quote-unquote man cave, but yours doesn't have its own Criterion DVD special feature like Del Toro's. After the very sudden and public cancellation of Silent Hills, Del Toro was quick to announce he never wanted to make a game ever again, saying, quote, "I have proven to be the albatross of video games. I have decided that in order not to destroy anyone else's life, I will never again get involved in video games." Damn. But where did this all begin? His other famous failed attempt was a game called Insane, but his awkward relationship with video games began even before that. Del Toro's first foray into the field was announced in The Hollywood Reporter in May 2006. It was revealed he intended to develop a game called Sundown with Terminal Reality and Rare. We spoke with Jesse Sosa, who was the lead character artist with Terminal Reality during the conception phase of the game. He told us that Sundown was intended as a combination first-person real-time strategy shooter set in a world ravaged by monsters. Players would leave a home base during the day to roam the world collecting survivors with specialized skills, and at night you would defend your base from the creatures. While not much is known about Del Toro's involvement in the project, Sosa remembers he was more involved with the story than the character design initially. Sundown has only recently become widely known to the public thanks to an unlockable behind-the-scenes video in the Rare compilation Rare Replay. While Terminal Reality instead focused on Ghostbusters the video game, Del Toro stayed busy with other projects. He lent his talents to 2008's Hellboy: The Science of Evil, developed by Crom Studios and published by Konami. Now before you say, aha! There's the quote albatross of video games successfully making a video game. Well, Del Toro was only consulted for character and story feedback as well as voiceover direction, which is maybe lucky as the game was very poorly received. Oh wait, maybe he really is the albatross of video games. In the spring of 2008, it was announced that Del Toro will be directing the Hobbit movies for producer Peter Jackson. According to Sosa, this is when Del Toro dropped out of Sundown as well as many other projects. However, as you might have heard, this also didn't work out. It's important to note that Del Toro and Hideo Kojima became friends around this time, meeting that year during the promotion of Hellboy 2 and becoming man cave buddies by 2009. By late July 2010, just a scant 2 months after officially leaving The Hobbit, Del Toro let slip to MTV News that he was working on closing a deal on a new trilogy of video games. Other outlets quickly confirmed the deal was with THQ and Saints Row developer Volition. This is an aside, but through our research we've noticed again and again that Del Toro is a bit of a loose cannon when it comes to interviews. As such, THQ was forced to respond that they were not ready to make a formal announcement yet, Guillermo. A couple months later, in December 2010, the trailer for Insane debuted at the Spike Video Game Awards. It was reported to be an action-packed horror game with a dash of Lovecraft. However, after a year and a half of development, it was officially cancelled in August 2012, before any real footage could be released. Though it was technically cancelled before THQ officially imploded in December 2012, it's safe to say that one hand washed the other in this case. For what it's worth, THQ transferred the rights back to Del Toro upon the cancellation. And though he said he shopped the game around to different developers, it seems like the property died with THQ. Things were quiet on the video game front for a while, though 2013's Pacific Rim famously cameoed the voice of GLaDOS from Portal. The film was a modest success and received the obligatory video game tie-ins, though he had no involvement. The action-packed film about giant robots punching giant monsters seems ripe for a proper video game adaptation, and Del Toro himself has said he would love to make a Pacific Rim video game, but only if they, quote, did it right, with a development schedule that would last 2 to 3 years. And perhaps they could expand 2014's Pacific Rim Jaeger Pilot Oculus Rift experience that was demoed at the San Diego Comic-Con into an actual game. In researching this video, we've noticed Del Toro repeatedly say that storytelling is shifting into a quote mono-platform world, basically a merging of all media into a synergistic form with comics, movies, games, you name it, all converging to support one another. Initially, this conjured up the image of George Lucas diving into a pit of money like Scrooge McDuck, and it's no wonder. The best modern examples of this are Disney's Marvel and Star Wars franchises. But we've come to the conclusion that Del Toro is a creative first, businessman second. He seems like a man who needs to work on multiple projects at once, and it's easy to understand the appeal of channeling his energy into one massive story. Interestingly enough, Hideo Kojima has on the record shared a similar sentiment, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. In August 2014, Konami announced PT at Gamescom and released it to the public as a free PS4 download. Though it was intended to take days and weeks, the obtuse puzzles of PT were cracked within hours, revealing the teaser to be the announcement that Del Toro and Kojima were teaming up to make Silent Hills. Stop us if you've heard this one before. It's unclear how far Silent Hills actually got into production because most of the Kojima team went all hands on deck into finishing Metal Gear Solid 5 once PT was out of the way. Personally, we speculate that it didn't get very far, though it turns out that manga horror legend Junji Ito was also working on the project, so perhaps one day concept art will leak. As of producing this video though, nothing beyond the concept trailer has been released. At any rate, Silent Hills was officially cancelled on April 27, 2015, with PT removed from servers a few days later. And man, Del Toro has been salty about it since. The true heartbreaking moment came a few months later in July. He told Playboy that he is cursed, and while he may help make a video game like he did with Hellboy, he never wants to create one again because he basically feels it could only bring the downfall of the world, or something like that. Though at the February 2016 DICE Awards, he and Kojima graced the stage for a keynote conversation with Jeff Keighley, which, while it provided many revelations, the most important one is Del Toro's response when asked if he'll do more video games in the future.
I'll do whatever the fuck you want.
Okay. Would you like him to do anything, Adele?
Yeah.
Not the surprise announcement we were hoping for, but hey, we'll take it. We're sure the story is far from over, but when the next big scoop happens, you'll know how it got there. For Grace Kramer and Derek Alexander, this is Past Mortem signing off. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and tell a friend if you enjoyed the show. March 2016 is the 20th anniversary of Resident Evil. We got some big plans in store. Stop Skeletons from Fighting is a Patreon-supported show. Special thanks, as always, to our wonderful supporters. If you'd like to support the show and see your name here, click the logo and give what you can. If you want to see the previous episode of Past Mortem explaining the fallout of Kojima and Konami, click the video on the left. And if you want to learn about 3 games with secret ports or remasters, then click the link on the right. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.